Hello everyone, welcome to Roy Digital Children Teaching Center. Today you are watching the final part of this chapter from Traders to Rulers British Expansion in India. And now in part 3, we'll wrap up the chapter by looking at how the company continued its annexation, developed a new administrative system and built a powerful army, all of which laid the foundation for complete British control over the India. So, let's begin this final journey and understand how the East India Company became the ruler of almost entire Indian subcontinent. After the Third Battle of Panipat in 1761, the dream of Maratha rule over Delhi was destroyed. The Maratha power was broken into small states and ruled by powerful chiefs like Scindia, Holkar, Gaikwad, and Vosley. They were united under one leader, the Peshwa, who acted as their military and administrative head and lived in Pune. Two famous Maratha leaders were Mahatji Scindia and Nana Farnbase. But the British East India Company wanted more land and power, so they fought three wars with the Marathas. First Anglo-Maratha War from 1775 to 1782, but no one clearly won. It ended with the Treaty of Salbai. The Second War, 18 from 1803 to 1805, and the British owned major areas like Odisha, Agra, and Delhi. And the final war, the Third War, from say 1870 to 1890, the Marathas were completely defeated. The Peshwa was sent to Bithur near Kanpur, and the British controlled almost all of India south of the Vindhyas. So were with the Marathas. From the late 18th century, the company also sought to curb and eventually destroy Maratha power. With their defeat in the Third Battle of Panipat in 1761, the Marathas' dream of ruling from Delhi was shattered. They were divided into many states under different chiefs like Sardars belonging to the dynasties such as Scindia, Holkar, Gaikwad, and Vosley. These chiefs were held together in a confederacy under a Peshwa. Peshwa means principal minister and confederacy means alliance. Okay, and the Peshwa who became its effective military and administrative head based in Pune. Mahatji Scindia and Nana Farnbase were two famous Maratha soldiers and statesmen of the late 18th century. The Marathas were subdued in a series of wars. In the first war that ended in 1782 with the Treaty of Salbai, there was no clear victor. The Second Anglo-Maratha War from 1803 to 5 was fought on different fronts, resulting in the British gaining Odisha and the territories north of Yamuna River including Agra and Delhi. And finally the Maratha power came to end with the Third Anglo-Maratha War of 1817 to 1819. The Peshwa was removed and sent away to Bithur near Kanpur with a pension. The company now had complete control over the territories south of the Vindhyas. Okay. Now our next topic is the claim of paramountcy. Under Lord Hastings, the company started claiming something called paramountcy. What does that mean? They said their power was supreme, higher than any Indian king or queen. If any state didn't follow their rules, they could threaten, attack, or annex them. But not everyone agreed. Rani Chennamma from Kittur in present-day Karnataka fought back. Even after she was arrested and died in jail, a brave man named Raina, a poor chowkidar, continued the fight. He destroyed British camps but was eventually caught and hanged in 1830s. By the 1830s, the British were scared that Russia might attack India from the northwest. So they wanted to control that area also. They fought a long war with Afghanistan from 1838 to 1842. They annexed Sindh in 1843. After Maharaj Ranjit Singh died, they defeated the Sikh Empire into two wars, and in 1849 they took over Punjab. Okay. So it is clear from the above that from The early 19th century, the company pursued an aggressive policy of territorial expansion. Under the Lord Hastings Governor General from 1813 to 1823, a new policy of paramountcy was initiated. Now the company claimed that its authority was paramount or supreme, hence its power was greater than that of Indian states. In order to protect its interest, it was justified in annexing or threatening and to annex any Indian kingdom. And this view continued to guide later British policies as well. And this process, however, did not go unchallenged. For example, when the British tried to annex the small state of Kittur in Karnataka today, Rani Chennamma took arms and led an anti-British resistance movement. She was arrested in 1824 and died in prison 1829. But Raina, a port chowkidar of Sangoli in Kittur, carried on the resistance. With popular support, he destroyed many British camps and records. He was caught and hanged by the British in 1830. You will read more about several cases of resistance later in the book. Okay, and in the late 1830s, the East India Company became worried about Russia. It imagined that Russia might expand across Asia and enter India from northwest. Driven by this fear, the British now wanted to secure their control over the northwest. They fought a prolonged war with Afghanistan between 1838 and 1842, and it established indirect company rule there. Sindh was taken over in 1843, and next in line was Punjab, but the presence of Maharaj Ranjit Singh held back the company. After his death in 1839, two prolonged were fought with the Sikh kingdom, and ultimately 1849, in 1849 the Punjab was also annexed. Okay, our next topic is the doctrine of lapse. Lord Dalhousie, Governor General from 1848 to 1856, introduced a tricky idea, the doctrine of lapse. It said if a king had no biological male heir, the kingdom would automatically become British territory. Using this policy, they took over Satara in 1848, Shambhalpur in 1850, Udaipur in 1852, Nagpur in 1853, and Jhansi in 1854. And in 1856, they even took over Awadh, claiming they were saving the people from a bad ruler. People were furious, and this would later fuel the revolt of 1857. The final wave of annexation occurred under the Lord Dalhousie, who was the Governor General from 1848 to 1856, and he devised a policy that came to be known as the Doctrine of Lapse. The doctrine declared that if an Indian ruler died without a male heir, his kingdom would lapse, that is, become a part of company territory. One kingdom after another was annexed simply by applying this doctrine. Satara in 1848, Sambalpur in 1850, Udaipur in 1852, Nagpur in 1853, and Jhansi in 1854. And finally, in 1856, the company also took over Awadh. This time, the British had an added argument. They said they were obliged by duty to take over Awadh in order to free the people from misgovernment of the Nawab. Enraged by the humiliating way in which the Nawab was deposed, the people of Awadh joined the great revolt that broke out in 1857. And the next topic is setting up a new administration. Now let's talk about how the British managed all this land. Warren Hastings, the first Governor General from 1773 to 1785, began many reforms. India was divided into three presidencies: Bengal, Bombay, and Madras. Each had a governor. He set up a new civil Diwani Adalat and criminal courts, called Faujdari Adalat. Hindu Pandits and Muslim Maulavis helped interpret laws for British judges. A Supreme Court and an appeal court called Sadar Nijamat Adalat were set up in Calcutta. The most powerful person in a district was the collector. He collected taxes and kept law and order. So, Warren Hastings, Governor General from 1773 to 1785, was one of the main important figures who played a significant role in the expansion of company power. By his time, the company had acquired power not only in Bengal but also in Bombay and Madras. British territories were broadly divided into administrative units called presidencies, and there were three presidencies: Bengal, Madras, and Bombay. Each was ruled by a governor. The supreme head of the administration was the Governor General. Warren Hastings, the first Governor General, introduced the several administrative reforms, notably in the sphere of justice. From 1772, a new system of justice was established. Each district was to have two courts: a criminal court like Faujudari Adalat and a civil court called Diwani Adalat. Maulavis and Hindu Pandits interpreted Indian laws for the European district collectors who preside over civil courts. The criminal courts were still under a Qazi and Mufti but under the supervision of the collector. So, Qazi means a judge and Mufti means a jurist of the Muslim community responsible for expounding the law that the Qazi would administer. A major problem was that the Brahman Pandits gave the different interpretation of local laws based on different schools of Dharmashastra. To bring about uniformity in 1775, 11 Pandits were asked to compile a digest of Hindu laws. N.V. Halhed translate these digests into English. By 1778, a code of Muslim laws was also compiled for the benefit of European judges. Under the Regulating Act of 1773, a new Supreme Court was established, while a Court of Appeal, the Sador Nijamat Adalat, was also set up at Calcutta. The principal figure in an Indian district was the collector. As the title suggests, his main job was to collect revenue and taxes and maintain law and order in his district with the help of judges, police officers, and darogas. His office, the collectorate, became the new center of power and patronage that steadily replaced previous holders of authority. Increasingly subjected to European style training, drill, and discipline that regulated their life far more than before. Often, this created problems since caste and community feelings were ignored in building a force of professional soldiers. Could individuals so easily give up their caste and religious feelings? Could they see themselves only as soldiers and not as members of communities? What did the sepoy feel? How did they react to the changes in their lives and their identity? That is, their sense of who they were. The revolt of 1857 gives us a glimpse into the world of the sepoys. We will read about this revolt in chapter 5. Okay, now let's read the conclusion part. Thus, the East India Company was transformed from a trading company to a territorial colonial power. The arrival of new steam technology in the early 19th century also aided this process. Till then, it would take anywhere between 6 and 8 months to travel India by sea. Steamships reduced this journey time to 3 weeks, enabling more Britishers and the families to come to a far off country like India. By 1857, the company came to exercise direct rule over about 63% of territory and 78% of the population of India subcontinent. Combined with its indirect influence on the remaining territory and population of the India, the East India Company had virtually the whole of India under its control. In the 18th, steamships may travel from Britain to India faster from 8 months to just 3 weeks. More British officers and their families came, and by 1857, the East India Company ruled over 63% of Indian territory and 78% percentage of its population. Through direct and indirect rule, the company control almost of India. And in this way, my students, is how a small trading company became a mighty empire. From the Marathas to Punjab, from Awadh to Jhansi, every step tells a story of power, struggle, and resistance. If you enjoyed these explanations, then don't forget to like, share, and subscribe our YouTube channel, Roy Digital Children Teaching Center. And see you in the next lesson. Until then, keep learning and keep shining.